Hello, my name is Allie, and welcome to Funny Fat Friend, a podcast about this bodacious biracial babe trying to find herself in film. Here's an update. So we have been protesting here in Louisville for 56 days, and we still have seen no justice. I'm continuing to highlight organizations leading the way in creating equality. This week, I'm going to tell you all about Change Today, Change Tomorrow, which is a group I'm passionately in love with and have been volunteering for the past few months. I'll tell you more about them later, but right now, we need to talk about this week's film. It is the 2004 cinematic feat that was named Catwoman. My notes on this film after I watched it came to 9 single-space pages long. Nothing has ever prompted me to so passionately write about it in one sitting. Ideally, I'm going to edit it down, but we'll see. Editing Alley could not give a shit, just like the creators of this film, and leave it all in. So, it's anybody's game. So, the film is based loosely on the DC comic character Catwoman, making it technically a superhero movie. Sure. It had a budget of $100 million. It made only $82 million. Oof. So yeah, it was a commercial and critical failure, but we'll get more into that later. It stars Halle Berry, who is a deeply talented actor. Honestly, incredibly talented. And oh my god, she is so beautiful. And she is truly awe-inspiring in this role. And I was in awe of how horrible it was. It was so bad. But yeah, I loved it though. I honestly had a wonderful time. So I don't know. I should probably bring that up with my therapist. We need to figure it out. But I love it. I love this movie. And I need to talk about it. Okay, so here we go. Catwoman. So we open on these, a 5th grade PowerPoint presentation just of pictures. It's there's these Egyptian hieroglyphics and cats and sphinxes, etc., etc. And I had to turn on the fan in the living room so I couldn't hear it that well, and I had to turn on the captions. But I'm glad I turned on the captions because it told me the description for the music said exotic, mysterious melody, woman singing, which, really encapsulates so much, problematic word like exotic right at the jump. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of vague, weird, uncomfortable everything. That's the movie. Vague, weird, uncomfortable. But I love it. It's so bad. Okay, so yeah, again, PowerPoint presentation of Egypt and cats. And then we get the image of the title of the movie, Catwoman, and the O in woman is a cat's eye. Oh, you guys. Well, not really. It's not really a cat's eye. It's just an eye. My cat's eyes don't look like the cat eye. She's got really round eyes. I don't know. I'm also looking at this candy bowl we have sitting in our living room from Halloween still. And it didn't look like those eyes either. The candy bowl is cat shaped. That was important. I should have said that first. So yeah, okay. But okay, yeah, we're moving forward. So we move through time in this PowerPoint slideshow, through history. We're seeing cats through the ages, through the 1700s, the 1800s, the 1900s. Cats. Then we start to see women in cats. And then we start to see cat women who look like cats. And all the while, this intro is also long as hell. It is 4 minutes. It's a 4-minute PowerPoint presentation set to exotic music, mysterious melody, woman singing. And they also tell us that it's DC, which is a real bummer. DC is not catching breaks. They have not caught breaks from the jump, I guess, right? It's just oof. I love Superman, but I also acknowledge that, those aren't great. I like bad things. If you haven't noticed, I like a lot of bad things. So yeah, DC. Oh yeah, and it reminded me. Remember when Anne Hathaway played Catwoman in that Batman movie? Wasn't that wild? We should talk about that. Everybody should be talking about that once a day, I think. Let's all remember Anne Hathaway played Catwoman in a Batman movie after the world saw Halle Berry be Catwoman. And the world still was like, but yeah, Anne Hathaway should be Catwoman. Good stuff. Okay, then we have Halle Berry. We see her finally. Well, we see like her outline. It opens to the actual movie and there's a body floating in water. We see it from under the body. We're in the water, which I hate that. I hate being underwater, like in like film. It makes me feel, I hate it. Like I used to play Grand Theft Auto and you could like jump in the water and when the camera would go into the water, I'd freak out. So also something I guess I should talk to my therapist about. What is that fear? What is that? That's weird, right? I don't know. But anyway, we're under the water looking up at her body and we have a voiceover. It's like it all started on the day that I died. Yeah, it all started the day I died an unremarkable woman. The day I died was the day I started to live, but that comes later. Which is strong and dramatic. All right, and then it cuts to Halle Berry in a long sleeve shirt under a dress, and she has pants on. Just the worst outfit. Incredible. It's so ugly. But her hair is beautiful. It's like these long cascading curls. I think they were trying to make it look messy, but it did not look messy. It looked very pretty and it didn't make sense with her outfit. But okay. And also, everyone has like this like soft filter on their face. It's like this Instagram glow filter. It's on everything, which I guess was just 2004 is what they did. Because they, I don't know, makeup wasn't that good. I don't know what was going on. But they figured out they could do it, so they did. That's really what happened, and that's too bad. So yeah, everybody's really hot. Alex Borstein is in this movie. I think that's her name. I was going to look that up, and I didn't. And now I don't want to stop and look it up. So if it's not her name, I apologize. She was on Mad TV. That's what I know her from. And she's at the height of her career, I guess. But it's cool. It's like her best friend. They work at some beauty company in the marketing department. Then we meet one of our villains. He's this English man who is condescending and talking about their Bioline, which is the name of the company. This is a beauty line. And they're talking about how they're replacing the model for a new young model because the other model was old. And the model who it was his wife, and she is there. And it's awkward. And they put up the young new lady's face, and everybody's really excited. Yay. And then Halle Berry, her name is Patience. But I don't think we actually know that yet. Or I didn't know that yet. I learned that later. Okay. Patience gets called into the boss's office, Mr. Englishman, and he tells her that she did a really bad job with the latest ad campaign and just roasts her outfit, just tears her up. It's really mean. But his wife sticks up for her and is like, hey, you let her try again. And so that's nice. So we think that the wife is like a nice lady who's just been hurt by this terrible system of like, once you turn 40 that you're no good no mo. And which is ridiculous. So we're rooting for everyone who's a woman right now. All right, and then we go back to Halle Berry's apartment. It is late at night. There's a party happening, like across the alleyway from her apartment. It's really loud. It's like 4 a.m. and she can't sleep. Hoobastank is playing. The music that is playing is Hoobastank. I only know that again because the captions told me so. It is not their famous song that I don't remember right now, but you know what it is. But they're playing, and she quietly opens her window and leans out and across the alleyway tries to ask them to turn the music down. But that doesn't work, because of course not. Also, everyone at the party looks like they're in Nickelback. So, like, was that 2004? I don't think I remember 2004. How old was I in 2004? I was 11. I was 11 in 2004. What did I look like? Ooh, I looked worse than Hoobastank and Nickelback. Yeah, I wore like a Tweety Bird t-shirt and overalls most days. I also had this like SpongeBob bandana that I was really into. So I can't really be coming for people dressed in 2004. I'm gonna check myself. But okay, yeah, so she tries to like tell them to turn down the music, but they can't hear her and do not care. And then she notices in the alleyway there's like this little cat sitting on a motorcycle. And they make very intense eye contact with each other. And I was like, is this cat a person? Is this cat going to turn into a person? And then it looks back at Halle Berry, and then it looks back at the motorcycle, and the cat's gone. So that's exciting. And then it's the next day. And we see the cat again, actually, and it's sitting on the windowsill, and it's like, hey, I'm a cat. And she's painting. Halle Berry, Patience, is painting a painting, because it turns out she's not just an ad lady, she's an artist. And she sees the cat, and then the cat disappears again, and she goes to the window and is like, whoa, 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 where'd that cat go? And then the cat is like on top of this like archway on the building, like stuck. So Patience decides that she's gonna go out on her windowsill and climb the building and save this cat. It'd be like that. And so she starts to climb the side of the building, and she gets onto a in-window air conditioner, like one of those little rectangles, and she's standing on that, which definitely can't support her weight at all, but it does somehow for a moment. And a police officer happens to notice that she is on the side of a building, high up, and is like, oh no, don't jump. And she's like, no, I'm trying to like save this cat. And then it pans back up, and that cat ain't there no mo. So this beautiful man, who happens to be a cop, which is too bad, he's like, what is your apartment number? And so she tells him. He runs into her apartment, and somehow, as she is falling, he grabs her and brings her into the window, which doesn't make any sense with like gravity. Like, the force of her falling would have taken him down too, but we out here. Are they in Gotham? They never say. They never say if they're in Gotham. But Catwoman is part of Batman. So I guess they're in Gotham, but they don't talk about it at all. But things are different in Gotham. Gravity isn't the same. Danny DeVito is a penguin in Gotham, so anything goes. But yeah, this beautiful man saves her, and she notices that it's late and she needs to go to work, which, I don't know. I can never effectively get things done before I go to work. Like, I couldn't be like, oh, I'm just going to get up a little early and paint a painting. She was up till 4 a.m. at least listening to Hoobastank. So, I don't know, but whatever. At least she noticed she was late. So she like rushes out of the house, and he's following her out, and she like drops her wallet on the ground as she runs out. And also, she does not have any shoes on. There's no rules where she works when it comes to dress code. Obviously there's not. She looks awful. And she's wearing the same outfit that she wore yesterday. The dress with a long sleeve shirt and bell-bottom pants. But the officer picks up her little wallet like it's Cinderella and like looks all cute at the camera. And yeah, my heart's melted. This man is so hot. This man is so attractive. They did a good job there. They were like, hey, who's pretty? We're putting him in the movie. So they did that. The casting director, aces all the way. Did the best they could. But okay, yeah. Patience goes to work, and then we get a shot of like the wife that used to be the model for the company. There's also, okay, The camera work in this is so wild. It feels like I am Spider-Man, which is not the correct comic, right? But it's like the way it like swoops around and like jumps around. It feels like you're like swinging around on webs or vines. This could be Tarzan. Why not? But it's really uncomfortable. It feels kind of like a roller coaster. It feels like a 4D roller coaster at an amusement park. Like you're wiggling around, which I thought, I don't know, maybe they thought that was cool. They obviously thought that was cool. That's why they did it. But yeah, every transition is just these intense swoopy pans of the city. But okay, yes, we see the wife. She is in the office and she is watching as like all the billboards that used to have her face on them turn into the face of the new young model. And her husband walks in and is like, no one can defeat Father Time. Their relationship doesn't make any sense. I don't know why they're together. Like, they both hate each other. And it's like, why? What are you together for, you know? It's like, if they're both part of the company, then they could both still just be part of the company if they just weren't together. I don't know. Not my business. But yeah, then he talks about how he has to have a meeting later because a scientist needs to talk to him that works for them. And he's like, ugh, they're even worse than models. You gotta coddle them. We know he's gonna have a meeting. Great. Then we're back with Patience, and she's at her cubicle, and a person pops over the wall and is like, hey, man sandwich, 12 o'clock. What does that mean? Okay, I literally understand that, like, 12 o'clock, directions of the time. Okay, like, straight ahead, or, like, we're looking at where 12 o'clock is on the clock, that direction. What is a man sandwich? What is that? A manwich? That's the thing. It was like a sloppy Joe. But he was referring to the cop. The cop was there. Is that a compliment? Let me know. If you are a male-identifying person, let me know if you would like to be called a man sandwich as a compliment. And why? Because I don't get it. Is it a good, I don't know, good sandwich? You didn't say a delicious man sandwich. They just said, man sandwich, 12 o'clock. I'm gonna make t-shirts that say man sandwich. Let me know if you want one. Okay, so the cop comes up and he's like, hey, you dropped this. And brings her wallet. It's great. And he's like, my name is Detective Lone. Tom Lone. And Alex Borstein says that his name rhymes with bone, which is very hilarious. Yeah, she just has like a book of like her sketches hanging out on her desk. So he goes through them and it's like, wow, this reminds me of this artist and blah, 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 blah. She's like, oh, that's very impressive. And he was like, oh no, I just noticed you had a bunch of art in your apartment. So I Googled it when I got to the office. It's like, it's not hot. I don't recommend talking to anyone this way. Actually, yeah, that's a blanket statement for how everyone talks to each other throughout this entire movie. I don't recommend anyone talk to anyone this way. But it's effective, I guess, because he asks her out to coffee, and she's like, oh, okay. And he asks Alex Borstein, whose name, is Sal. Asks her to make sure that patient shows up, and she's like, well, if I do a bad job, you can lock me up and throw away the key. Which I guess, is that sexy? That's not sexy. That's awful. The prison complex system in America is very fucked up. It's very bad. But, I don't know. I like Alex Borstein. And he walks away. And then Alex Borstein's all like, girl, you gotta shave your legs. Which I don't know how she knows she needs to shave her legs. That girl wears fucking 1900 bolts of fabric all over her body. You can't see her legs. You don't know. But then she also is like, and you also better wear that leather outfit that me and other friend, I don't know their friend, the person who said man sandwich, they got her for her birthday, a leather outfit, which is foreshadowing, you guys. We had to know about the leather outfit. So yeah, and then we have this weird, intense time lapse of a bunch of people walking around the office really fast, and it gets darker, and we see that Patience has been there the whole time working. And then she calls to try and get a messenger to take her sketches over somewhere. And they're like, no, girl, it's like 11 p.m. And she's like, oh, they have to be there by midnight. So then she just takes them to the factory. Turns out it's the factory. She takes them to the factory herself, which, who's having a meeting at midnight? Why would her sketches need to be there at midnight for a meeting? But who am I? All right? My opinions don't matter. It is what it is. So, she goes to the factory. She gets there. She hears people talking in the lab room. Lab? Lab is enough, not lab room. But yeah, the lab. And it's the wife and the scientist, and there's like a bodyguard also in there. The scientist is talking about how they can't put out the product because it is disfiguring women. Like, he's like, I'm fine with it being addictive, because apparently it's addictive. He's like, but I won't turn women into monsters. And it like shows a woman's face turning into like, it has like a bunch of scarring and stuff on it. Also, the woman's face they use is the main actor from Stick It, which we gotta talk about Stick It sometime, because it's amazing and I love it a lot. But that was exciting. So shout out to Stick It. Don't know that actor's name, but she's great. All right. So yeah. And so she overhears them talking about the long-term side effects. And the wife is like, I don't care. We're gonna sell it. So we find out she's a bad guy. She's bad. She doesn't mind turning people into monsters. And she's like, gotta put it on the shelves. But then Patience like bumps into something and makes a loud noise. And so they hear her and they're like, whoa, who's there? And she like runs away and gets scared and is in like this pipe room, just a room of pipes. You know, like in your house where there's a room of pipes. That's where she is. And the bodyguards show up, and at first they're all like, hey girl, it's okay. We just want to talk to you. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, you guys. Like, I didn't mean to. But then one of the bodyguards just like starts shooting at her. So she starts running again, and they chase her to like a waste place. I don't know. It's like this weird, like, bigger tube than the tube room. There's a really big tube with a door on it. She runs inside of it. And then they get like a message from the boss lady. And she's like, kill her. They close the door. And they like turn on some water. So it like flushes her out into the ocean. And that is the scene that it opened with. Is where she's under the water. And she like gets washed up onto some trash mound. But we see the cat that she rescued or tried to rescue earlier in the day. The cat has it's CGI now, fully animated. It is not a cat anymore that you would ever see in the wild. And its face is like reflected in the water all weird. And then it like yowls into the night. And Halle Berry is laying on a trash mound, and then a bunch of cats show up. All of these cats, though, are not CGI'd. They are all regular cats. It is a bold choice to put all the regular cats next to this scary CGI cat. But then CGI cat pounces up onto her chest and is staring at her, and then it breathes into her face. And I don't know, I guess it was like giving her one of its lives, like 9 lives. I don't know. I think I might be smarter than the movie. I don't think that's what they meant was happening. I don't know, but it breathes into her face and her eyes are like open, and we see her pupils turn into cat pupils. And she gets up. And when she gets up, all the cats are gone somehow. It's great. But then, while she's looking around, she gets like super eye vision. It's not a thing. Super eye vision. And there's some seagulls flying around, and it zooms in on those seagulls real close, and she sees them real well, which I guess is a power. And then she looks down at the ground, and there's like a spider, and it zooms in on the spider real close. And she's freaked out because her eyes are wilding out now. And then she scurries away, and she's like in the alleyway near her house. Also, she still doesn't have shoes, you guys. This whole time, homegirl has no shoes. She hasn't had shoes all day. So now she's walking through this nasty alleyway with no shoes, and she's like all crouched over and odd, I guess, as a cat would be, but I've never seen a cat look like how she's walking, so I don't really know. But she goes up to her house, and then she just like propels herself up the fire escape into her bedroom. Sure. And she's also very nasty dirty. And then it cuts to the next day, and she's laying on a shelf with like a blanket and a pillow, like a cat. I don't know. My cat sleeps on the couch or in the middle of my bed. So I don't know. I don't think that is necessarily a cat thing, but I don't know. Maybe my cat's weird. My cat is weird. But she's sleeping in a chair right now, right next to me, unfazed. So I don't know. But yeah, she wakes up to her phone ringing, and it's the cop, and he's all like, all right, so I'm at the coffee shop, and you're not here, so I guess we're not having coffee. And he hangs up. And yeah, and then she sees the cat from earlier is in her house now, and she catches it. Also, she's not dirty anymore. I guess she cleaned herself up. I hope she took a shower. But yeah, she sees that cat is in her house, and she catches it, and she's like, who are you? And she like pulls out this like piece of paper from its collar that has a little note saying that like somebody named like Ophelia Powers, and has an address on it. And so she takes the cat with her to that address. I guess she just carries it in her arms, which is not a thing you can just do with a cat. You can't just like walk around a city holding a cat all calm. Unbelievable. But she goes to this house, and it's like this cute little quaint house in the middle of the city, like Stuart Little. It looks like Stuart Little. You know how they have like a normal little house in between giant like skyscrapers? It's like that. And the woman answers the door, and it's like, oh, midnight. You've never brought a stranger home before. And yeah, the woman is a witch. She's a witch, without a doubt. That woman is a witch. That answers the door. Okay, so we learned a little bit about the cat. It's an Egyptian cat that is special powers. Patience is pretty freaked out, and it's like, everything is weird, and this is all odd, and I would like to leave. And she starts to leave, and then the woman just throws a ball of catnip at her, and she rubs it all over her face. Halle Berry had to rub a ball of catnip all over her face and be very into it. That woman has earned every award she has ever received. Halle Berry is more than most of us, all right? She is. She is more than most of us. Okay, but the woman is just like, that's catnip. And Halle Berry's like, oh, that's weird. This is all weird. I need to leave. So she leaves, and she's walking to work. She passes some dogs. She hisses at them, as one does. She gets to work. She's working, and then her boss is like yelling at her while she's drawing some stuff and not paying attention to him. And then he is like, what are you working on? And he like pulls it out from under her, and it's like a Satan. It's him as a demon. This is what she's drawing. That's very fun. Yeah. And she like apologizes, but he's like, that's not good enough. And then she says, then let me hit you with the remix. So I guess when she turns into Catwoman, she also becomes Little Kim. I don't know. She's just like this hip hop woman now. It was very weird. It was very odd. But sure. And she tells him off and just tears him up real good. And then he fires her, obviously. But then, after he leaves, everyone in the audience, in the office, gives her a round of applause. You know, as one does. So she has to leave work now. And her and Sal, her pal Sal, are walking down the street. They pass this jewelry store that has like really pretty, well, I don't think it's pretty. It's a pretty ugly necklace that's in the window, but the way it reflects off the window and she's like looking through the glass looks like it's like on her. It's like looks like she's wearing it, and that's pretty cool. But as she's like looking at it, Sal passes out, just like full collapses, and that's scary. And they take her to the hospital. Sal is like, "Ah, don't worry about me." She's like, "You better go see that cop. You gotta give that cop some brown sugar." And that's a big no from me, dog. That one was a big no. That was like, I love you, Alex Borstein. That's a yikes from me. Yeah, then she like leaves, and we see the cop, Mr. Lone, Tom Lone, is talking to a bunch of children. Just a whole bunch of children, like 50 children in a room, in what I thought was like a classroom, but I don't know, I didn't see any teacher around. And he's just talking to them about how like they shouldn't be bad kids. He wants them to be good kids. And he's holding a basketball for what seems no reason at all. And at the end of his speech, he's like, "All right, now go shoot some hoops." And he throws the basketball into the crowd of kids, and they all cheer. And Patience is standing like in the doorway. So this can't be a school, right? Because they just let a stranger come in and stand with the children. So I don't know. It's like an after school program or something. Still, you can't just like show up, a stranger. So yeah, she's there. She apologizes and hands him like a cup of coffee, which is cute, and she's written sorry on it, which is significant. You have to remember that. It's important. And he takes it, and it's obviously like empty. The way he handles this cup, it is an empty cup. It is so light in his hands. But sure. Then they go outside and they're like talking. And she asks if he has a partner, and he's like, "Nah, I take my job too seriously." And they're just like out on the basketball court with these children. And the kids are all like, "Y'all should play some one-on-one." And yeah, the kid like tosses the ball to Patience. And she's like dribbles it a little bit and then full on like runs up a wall. And is doing all these tricks. Because I guess cats are good at basketball. For real. This scene is the craziest thing I have ever seen in my entire life. Is Halle Berry acting as a cat playing basketball. And the way the camera like follows them, so they start to play basketball together. They take off their jackets and they get into it. But like the camera is like wiggling all around. It looks like a dance TikTok where like, people move the camera back and forth with each move. That's what it looks like. They paved the way. They set a trend 15 years in the past. But yeah, she's like dribbling the ball, and at one point it's just like the camera's just looking at her butt and like bouncing up and down on her butt, and that's really uncomfortable. And then he like lifts up his shirt at one point and is like fanning himself and showing off his body. And yeah, it's fully unbelievable, and you just have to watch it. Just watch it. I'm confident you can just like you can go on YouTube. They have to have this scene like popping off everywhere. But yeah, the conclusion of the basketball game is her jumping 40 feet through the air and dunking the basketball over the cop, and then landing, straddling him on the ground. So yeah. Yeah. And then the kids are like, "Can we have our ball back?" Sick. And Cool. Then it cuts quickly back to the villain wife of the company looking at pictures of the new model all over. I don't know. It's really weird. She's just like standing, being upset, looking at pictures of the other model. And then she's like, then her bodyguard comes in and is like, your husband has to cancel dinner. He's going into a meeting. And she's like, now he's going to go bang that model. She watches as he goes and gets in a limo with that model. And she breaks a glass in her hand. Yee! Whew. Then we have Patience back in her apartment, and she's laying on her bed, and there's 6 empty cans of tuna laying around her, and the 7th empty can is she's emptying a can while she talks on the phone with her pal Sal. And for some reason, Sal is at the hospital and like using the phone at the nurse's desk instead of like in her room. Like she goes and is like sitting at the nurse's like desk talking and like wiggling around and having fun. Patience tells Sal that she went Shaquille all over the cop's butt. And then Sal's like, you can't beat a man at sports. It messes him up. Yikes. And yeah, so that's the fun. That's fun. And the whole time that Patience is on the phone, she's like, you know how people like pace around when they're on the phone talking to people? They like take that idea, but they like make it a cat. So she's doing full on parkour around her apartment while she's on the phone. That's fun. Yeah, and so then they get off the phone and she notices those people are having a party again across the alleyway from her. And so this time she like screams and is like, turn it down. He's just like, nah. And so she walks to their apartment and knocks on the door. And one of the Nickelback men answers the door and is like, oh, this isn't a pajama party, but I'll let you come in, being creepy, you know. And she's like, I'm flattered, but if you could just turn on the music, that'd be cool. And he slams the door in her face. So she kicks it down and comes in and proceeds to take the tap on the keg and pour beer all over the speakers, making them explode, which I don't think would happen. That's not how that works, but you know, it was cool. There's cool pyrotechnics. And then she jumps on top of the Nickelback man and hurts him, and it's like, thanks for the party, I had fun. She goes back to her apartment, and I guess she is riled up from being a badass, and goes into her closet and pulls out her leather daddy outfit and then goes in the bathroom and takes 2 pairs of scissors and just chops all around her head. It's very like cartoony of like chopping all around her head, and there's just like hair falling everywhere. And then we see her in her final look, and she's wearing this leather daddy motorcycle outfit. It's very sexy, and she only has like 1 button done, and so her like belly button's out. And her hair somehow has highlights in it now. She has like, I think it looks like the Karen, can I speak to the manager look, like the short spiky back and long bang. And it's, those scissors somehow put highlight in her hair. So that's cool. And she's just like walking down the street in some pumps. And she takes that motorcycle that was in the alleyway and she starts driving it, and I like couldn't watch most of it because the way like it's like speed lines and like fast cuts, and it was like legit giving me like motion sickness. It was making me sick and my eyes hurt. So I don't recommend that. And I don't really see the point of what it was. And it was really long too. It's just like, I get it. She's driving fast somewhere. But yeah, she drives to the jewelry store where she saw that necklace earlier. And there's people have already broken in. So that's convenient. There are people actively breaking into the jewelry store. So she just goes in and beats them up, which is very exciting. It's very fun. The combat is pretty cool, actually. She was like, thought you could come in here and steal these nice things. What a... I can't do it without laughing. A perfect idea. I'm so stupid. god. Oh man. Yeah, and then she fights them and it's exciting and fun. And one of them, she like pulls their hair and then just goes, meow. Because I guess they just had the one pun, they can only come up with one pun. And so yeah, she beats them up and then she leaves them there. The next morning she wakes up and she's laying on the ground next to her bed. And on the bed is just all the jewels that she stole. And she's like, oof, that's not good. So she goes and gets a brown paper bag and puts all the jewels back in there except for like one ring because she likes it. She thinks it's nice. And then it goes to the police are at the jewelry store investigating. And you can overhear one of the officers being like, what are we going to call her? Are we going to call her Cat Chick or Cat Broad? So good. The names. Because Catwoman. Like, Catwoman is much better. But Cat Chick and Cat Broad were the first ideas. But her boo thing is there as one of the detectives investigating. And they're walking around and there's the brown paper bag ends up there with the jewels in it. And it says sorry on it. And the exact same handwriting is on his coffee cup, which I can't believe he doesn't notice right away, but whatever. But she also leaves a box of cupcakes for them. So that's sweet. She's sweet. But, never mind. I was gonna be like, how did nobody notice at a live crime scene a random person coming in and dropping these things off? But she's a magic cat. So that's how. Oh, the ice cream truck is driving down my street right now. Wasn't that fun? So yeah, she leaves them cupcakes, and then she's back in her apartment, and she just gets her laptop out and starts Googling cat lady. Literally types in cat lady. Just looks at images and stuff. It's great. And then she sees there's like occult pictures and diabolical cats, and yeah. It doesn't make sense why her first impulse isn't just to go talk to that woman who, had that cat, but whatever. She gets there eventually. Because that cat shows back up in her house. It shows up in one of the pictures, and she's like, midnight. And that reminds her to go back to that cat lady's house. So she goes, and the woman's like, yeah, I was a professor for 20 years studying cats. Which, yeah, that's probably a thing, but she was denied, what is that, tenure? Yeah, she was denied tenure because academia is sexist, which is facts are facts, America, and that adds up. So she just lives in this house with a bunch of cats with all this knowledge. And she's like, hey, so you want me to tell you what happened to you? And she's like, yeah, please. And the professor is like, you died, but then you were reborn. Apparently the cat, tested her to see if she was worthy of the gift that she gave her. So, yeah. And, yeah, she, pushes her. She, pushes Patience off the second story in her house just to, show her that she has powers, even though she knows she has powers. But whatever. And then she just throws pictures of all the past incarnations of Catwoman down on top of her because it's drama. We love theater, girls. We love theater. And yeah, she's like, you're a Catwoman. And that means that you're independent. You have total confidence in human reflexes. And then she hands her this mask. And Patience just takes it and accepts it. She's like, you've spent your lifetime caged. Freedom is power. Which word, dude? Freedom is power. And then Patience is, the next scene, just sitting on top of a building, holding the mask. And Midnight the cat comes and sits with her. And she's like, you know what? I should probably try and figure out who killed me. Then the next thing we see is her in that leather outfit, but it has been changed. It is tattered up. The legs, the pants of it are just like tattered up to the point that they basically just looks like she's wearing a pair of underwear and chaps and a bra. She's wearing a bra. There's no jacket anymore. It's just a bra and 2 belts that are crossed across her stomach for no reason. It's like a harness. It is. It's like vaguely like fetish. It's like there's no authenticity to. It's just like vaguely sexy. They're like, this is hot, right? I don't know anything about where any of this style comes from, but I bet this is hot. It's definitely what they were thinking. And that's what the costume department was. But whatever. She looks hot. It's impractical, but it's very sexy. And now she has like these claw gloves, which I don't know where she got them. I don't know where she got those claws, but sure. But anyway, she jumps around like a cat. And she goes to find that bodyguard that shot her. And it looks like she's in like a train yard or something where she finds him, and he goes into like an underground club, and she follows him and she orders a drink at the bar, and she's like, "Can I have a White Russian, but hold the ice, no vodka, and no Kahlua?" And the bartender is just like, "Yup," and turns around and then turns back and has the cup, and he's like, "Cream straight up." And she chugs it. There was no editing done. Yeah. Just like me with this podcast, no editing. Right, and yeah, and she goes out on the dance floor and does some weird acrobatic breakdancing, and also she has a whip now. We find out she just has a whip. That's not a cat thing. That's not explained. We don't know why she has a whip. She just does, and she can use it really well. Not a cat thing. My cat doesn't have a whip. Matilda, could you whip? No, she can't. She doesn't have thumbs. But, okay. But yeah, so she takes the whip and like swings over to the bodyguard's like VIP area. She's like, "Hey, we gotta fight." And then they go outside and they're like fighting. And she's like, "You killed somebody." And she grabs his tongue and is like, "Cat got your tongue?" And he was like, "You saw something that you weren't supposed to, and that's why I had to chase you down. I was just following orders." And so then she goes to the factory, and the scientist that was there the other night when she was there is dead. And she's like standing over him, like confused, and another guy sees like his dead body and her standing over it, and so he like hits an alarm. So she runs away, and the police come, and they're like, "Whoop, she's bad." Then we are in the police station, and her boothing, talking to another guy, and he's like, "Hey man, would your wife ever climb out on a ledge to help a cat?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, maybe, if that cat was carrying a pizza." And then he walks away. So So yeah, then somebody from the lab like drops off the paper bag that had the jewels in it and the sari, and then he finally notices that the sari looks the same on both of them. So he goes to like an in-house handwriting analyst they have, I guess. And he like blows it up on the screen, and he's like, "Okay, the person who wrote the sorry on the coffee cup is insecure and a people pleaser. And then the person who wrote the sorry on the bag is self-assured and great. So they're 2 different women." It's so ridiculous. So that's good enough for the cop, and he then takes patients to a carnival that is just like in an alleyway in the middle of the city. It's really weird and cramped and uncomfortable. But they're hanging out, and they get on a Ferris wheel, which breaks while they're at the top of it. So Copy McCopperson starts to climb down to try and help, and there's like a little boy that's like by himself in one of the seats, and the bar like breaks, the safety bar. So Patience, being a Catwoman, like breakdances over to save him, and he doesn't fall, and that's great. And when the when the boy's about to fall, it like zooms in on the mom. It zooms in the kid's face and he's like, "Mom!" And it zooms in on the mom's face and she goes, "Frankie." So motionless. I had to mention that. It's really funny. But yeah, she saves the kid, and then the cop is all like, "Oh, let's celebrate. Let me take you to dinner." But she turns him down because she has some business to handle, and that business is crime. She's gonna commit crime. All right. So then she's Catwoman, and she's standing in front of a window, and she's using her nails as glass cutters, and cuts a perfect circle, and somehow takes it out of the window, which doesn't make any sense. You would need, like, suction, but it's whatever. It was cool. It's Gotham. Physics are different. And, yeah, it turns out to be her old boss's mansion, and the wife is there, and she turns on the light, and they have, like, this face-off where they, like, roll around. I don't know. And she's like, Catwoman is winning, obviously, and accuses the husband of everything. Is like, that's disease in a jar. Throw it away, in a jar. Throw it away. It's bad. He's bad. And she's like, whoa, no way. I'll tell you where my husband is. He's at this weird event. And she's like, all right, cool. And the wife is like, oh, but what if I need to talk to you again? What's your phone number? And Patience is like, I don't have a number. You can't call me. And the wife is like, oh, just take my phone. And gives her a cell phone. And then Patience puts it in the front of her underwear chaps. And just walks out of the house. And, okay, so then we're at the theater, which is the event that the husband is at. It's this weird aerial ballet thing. I have no clue. I want to find out what the show they're watching is supposed to be. It's just like people on like bungee cords jumping around the stage and like moaning. It's very fascinating. I need to know more about that, but it's not important. So Catwoman shows up he has like a box because he's rich, and she shows up and scratches his face, as one does, and that's relatable. Cats do that. And then she, like, jumps on the stage because the cops show up. And she, like, jumps on the stage and everybody's like, whoa. And then it doesn't make sense how they both get up on the catwalk, because he would have had to... the cop, yeah, her boyfriend cop ends up on the catwalk with her. And that doesn't make sense because they would have had to, like, both go up, like, a ladder to get up on the catwalk. But it's definitely they're just there because it's, like, a joke, cat on a catwalk. Haha. But yeah, they're both up there. And the, like, motion lights that are up there are, like, swinging back and forth, which is, like, they would not be wilding out like that. Like, they're pretty stable. It's, like, they just move on a pedestal sort of thing. They don't swing back and forth, but whatever. It was kind of fun. It looks like, like chopping blades, like in some intense, like, treasure movie or something. I don't know. But it's exciting. They're fighting. She pulls like a cable and it sparks, and he tries to handcuff her, and it's intense. And she puts the live wire up against the grid, and it makes all the lights go out, which is not a thing, but yeah, it's for this movie, and it's fun, and it's cool, and yeah. So that was that. And then the next scene is back at the Bioline office. The wife comes in to the husband's office and is like yelling at him, and he slaps her in the face, but it hurts his hand. It's like intense. We're like, what? And then it goes back to Patience, and she's talking to Sal, and she's like, I don't know about this cop man, what if he doesn't like the real me? And Sal actually gives some like solid advice here, and it's like, you can't just pick and choose the parts of someone. If he wants to be with you, then he's gotta like all of you. And that's nice. Yeah. And then we're back at the mansion with the wife, and she's putting more Bioline cream on her neck. So that's interesting because we have seen that the Bioline like dissolves her face, but for some reason for her, it is not dissolving her face. She also is putting on literally like a thick layer. It's just, it's really gross. It's a really gross image. It's just like this thick lotion all over her neck. Then we're in a restaurant with Patience and Detective Lone, and she is staring at a fish tank filled with colorful fish because she is a cat, and it's a sushi place. So they sit down and immediately already have a bunch of sushi given to them, and she just eats all the fish, and that's great. And right away, oh yeah, when they were fighting on the catwalk, Catwoman, like, made out with him a little bit, low-key. Well, she just, like, kissed him at one point, and he was like, you can't, I'm taken, which was very intense. They've gone on one date now? They've been on one date, but okay. But yeah, so he mentions that. He tells her right away that Catwoman kissed him, which I guess is nice to be on. It didn't matter, but he's like, but don't worry about it, because bad isn't something that does it for me. So that's too bad, because they're the same person, or they're the same cat. Yeah, so then he wants to know more about her, because this is their second date. He does not know her at all. He's like, what's it like to be an artist? She's like, oh, I'm not really an artist. I mean, like, I went to art school, but then I got a normal job, and, like, now I don't know who I am anymore. It's like, ooh. But then he's like, oh, but I know who you are. You're different. That's so dumb. But he's really hot. He's so hot. And they're both so beautiful, and they like look at each other, and I melted, and it was so gorgeous. And they're like out on the street walking, and they're about to kiss, but then it starts raining, and she's like, I hate the rain, you know, because she's a cat. And I don't know why getting wet. I guess maybe it's like bad for their skin. I've never learned that. Maybe I'll look it up. Maybe somebody can tell me. Tell me why cats don't like water. Thanks. So yeah, then they like go and stand in this little flower stand, which is unoccupied, even though there are flowers everywhere, which means people could just steal them, but whatever. But then they make out and it's hot. And then they have sex, I guess? I don't know, really, because it's just like weird zoom-ins for like 3 seconds total of like them having passionate faces. And then it's Halle Berry asleep in a bed, and the detective is like getting up, and he's like walks to her fridge, which her fridge is just like has a clear face on it. It's like a beverage fridge at a restaurant or something, you know, like it's Subway. I don't know. It's weird. I couldn't help but notice it. It was odd. But when he's walking back to the bed, he like steps on something, and it's one of her bejeweled claws, and he's like, oh, that's weird. And so he finds a glass that has like her lip print on it, like a print of her lip, and he takes it and leaves, and she wakes up, and the cell phone that the wife gave her is ringing, and she answers it, and it's very odd because there's on the cell phone face, it starts with like a video of the wife being like, it's me, but then Halle Berry puts the phone up to her ear to talk, so it's like, is it a video call or is it a regular? It doesn't matter, but it was weird. So yeah, they're talking, and she's like, come over, I have evidence. And so yeah, she like leaves. So she goes over to the mansion while the cop goes to the detective place, the police station, and he has the lip print analyzed against a lipstick print that Catwoman left on his face, and they're able to compare the two, and it says that it's a likely match. Yo, science is wild. But yeah, cool. Catwoman goes to the mansion, and the wife is there and is like, yeah, you're right. Everything you said was right. And Catwoman just like believes her, which is so sad. It's like, it's sad because it's like beautiful because, yes, like women are dope and are not villains usually. But then it turns out she's a villain, so it's sad. And it's like, oh, like a double cross because the wife is like, all the evidence is behind that desk. And she walks over to the desk, and her husband's body is there, dead, with cat scratches all over it. And she's confused and is like, what? And the wife is like, nothing's going to keep Bioline from hitting the shelves. And then she's like, Catwoman, can I get you anything? Like a can of tuna, some milk, a smoking gun, and then she throws a gun at her, and Catwoman catches it. But I mean, like, that was lit. That's a good line. That was fun. Yeah. So she like starts screaming to make all the people in the house show up and see the Catwoman holding a gun over the dead body. So they're like, oh, she did it. But it is disappointing. It's like, okay, we have an interesting dynamic female character. So she's bad. So that sucks. She's like the only interesting, like, dynamic female character in the movie is this wife, and she's the bad guy, so that's disappointing. But okay. Catwoman, like, runs away and effectively changes out of her costume into just a sexy little tracksuit. It's very interesting. And it's just walking down the street. And when she gets home, cop boyfriend is there. And that's too bad. And he's just like, I'm sorry. Then they're in an interrogation room together. And she's just like, the wife did it. It's Bioline is like gonna kill people. And she would do anything to make sure it goes out on the shelves. And she framed me. And the cop's like, why? Why would I believe you? All the evidence says that you did it. She's like, ugh. But like, she's like, well, think about the first time you met me. What was I doing? He was like, oh, you were rescuing a cat. And it was like, no, you thought I was jumping to my death from my window. All the evidence said that I was trying to kill myself. But the reality was I was trying to save a cat. So maybe think about it in a different way. Which, okay, cool. That was, like, neat. I don't know. But he still puts her in her jail cell. She's, like, sitting in that cell all alone. But then Midnight shows up, the cat. It goes through the bars in the window, showing her that cats can be liquid. And she's like, oh, word? I can do that? So she gets up and shows her body through the bars. Gets out. She gets out. She leaves jail. She escapes jail effectively. And it's like, cool. All right, neat. And then she is running through the streets. She stops a car. And the man gets out and is like, oh no, are you okay? And she's like, yuck. And throws the man down because, feminism is being mean to men. And it's yikes. Now we find out that the wife has become the chief executive officer of the company, which doesn't make sense to me, actually. Like, usually, there's a chain of command. She didn't seem to have a job there outside of being the model, and then when she stopped being the model, she was just his wife. She didn't have an office there, that sort of thing. But whatever, this is what works for the story. So she's the chief executive officer. The detective shows up at our meeting and is like, hey, can we chat real quick? And so they go off together, the wife and the detective, and he's like, yo, I'm gonna let you know, I know that you are the bad guy, and maybe we could work something out. And she's all like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm the bad guy, but what do you want? And he's like, that's what I want, you to admit it. And it's like, whoa. And then Catwoman, like, shows up, but the wife shoots the detective in the chest and is like, yikes. Also, Catwoman is wearing open-toed shoes this whole time. I noticed that at this point, and I needed to tell everybody. She's wearing open-toe shoes, and that's so dangerous. But I guess cats also wear open-toe shoes. But yeah, Catwoman saves him. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Oh, well, there goes my jump shot." Because we're still talking about basketball, you guys. Basketball is the real hero of the story here. But they are like back in a pipe room again. So they're back in like the pipe room. They're hanging out there. And so that's like fun juxtaposition of like, now she's powerful and back in the spot where it all went down. So yeah, the bodyguards are like trying to find her, and she just like full on murders one of them. He just like cracks his head open, and he is dead. And then the detective takes out the other bodyguard somehow, even though he has a gunshot wound. And yeah. Then Catwoman and the wife start to face off, and she's like, "Why don't you just like take off your mask? Like, if you don't care about your identity." And she's like, "Because you killed me. You flushed me down the pipes. I'm Patient Phillips." And the wife's like, "Oh, it's you behind there?" But then Catwoman is like trying to beat her up. And the wife's like, "You can't hurt me. It's the Bioline. If you stop using it, your skin disintegrates, like you saw. But if you keep using it, your skin turns into marble. And you can't be hurt." Yeah, and so they just like fight around a lot, and she can't be hurt, so it's pretty counterintuitive. They break some glass at one point, and the wife takes a shard of it and stabs her in the leg, and it's very awful. It's very horrifying. Didn't want to see that. It's very graphic all of a sudden, the violence. It's very graphic. Then the wife is like, "You wanted to save your little copy boy, but you couldn't even save yourself." Which, I don't know why, but I wrote that sounded like a RuPaul quote. It's because, like, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love somebody else? It's just that. It wasn't a great joke, but I like it, so I said it. But then Catwoman is like, "You're wrong. We're going into overtime because basketball." They're still talking about basketball, and she beats her up with her whip, and then like the wife starts to fall out the window, and Catwoman like reaches out and is like, "Give me your hand," and actually tries to help her, but she falls, and she falls super far, and you watch her fall the whole way down, and that's awful, and she hits the ground, and it's really messed up, and yep. Then Catwoman is like, "I might not be a hero, but I'm certainly not a killer." Which is a lie. She killed that bodyguard 5 minutes ago. She murdered that man. He's dead. There's no way that man's not dead. But okay. Then the next thing we see is a newspaper that Sal, her pal, is holding. And on it says the Catwoman is a hero. And then Sal is being fed strawberries by her hot doctor that she had. So that's fun for Sal. And then we see the cat lady, the professor, opening a package that has some of Patient's art in it. And she also writes a letter to Tom to copy Mick Copperson and is like, "We can't be together," but she loves that he saw her as capable of being great, but that they can't be together because she's going to be bad sometimes, and that's true freedom. It's to be able to be good or bad. And then you see her sexy walk in her cat outfit, and then we just look at her butt for a long time. And then she cracks her whip and walks into the moon. And that's the end of the movie. What a wild time, you guys. For real. Like, honestly, I was actually surprised. It only got a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it has an average score of 1.3 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. Which, like, yes, it is really bad. But, like, most of the Twilight movies were worse than this movie. Like, watching it, Twilight was way harder to watch than Catwoman. Catwoman was at least extremely entertaining. Like, it is so entertaining. I had a wonderful time. And I think it does deserve credit for that. It's bad. It's so bad. It's very, really bad. But, like, wow. So yeah, and it led to one of my favorite Hollywood stories I've ever heard, which shout out to Sean, he told me the story. Catwoman was obviously not nominated for any Oscars, but it was nominated for 7 Golden Raspberry Awards, which is like the inverse of the Oscars. Like, it's just about bad movies, and Catwoman was nominated for 7 awards, which one of them was for Worst Actress, and Halle Berry won. And in a true baller move, basketball, she accepted the award in person while she was carrying her Oscar for Best Actress. And that is so cool. That's some hella cool shit, and I love that. So, Catwoman. Do I relate to this film? No. No, I cut my own hair sometimes, so I guess I relate to that. But I don't just take scissors in both hands and just chop around my head and get a new hairstyle that looks neat. I don't have any full body leather suits. I have worn a bra as a shirt before, so I guess I can relate there. And I think that's it. I have a cat. There we go. I think basketball's fun. Sick. So there's the ways I relate to Catwoman. Great. What a fun time, everybody. So let me tell you about a good thing. Yay. Change today, change tomorrow. I'm going to tell you about them. So they're an organization that was just launched in September of 2019, and they have already served over 10,000 of Louisville's marginalized residents. They are a multifaceted traveling nonprofit that engages in educational programming and community service work to leave an impactful and positive mark on the world. They provide access to resources, education, and community engagement to all of the Black community in the greater Louisville area from within it. They're all women of color that run the organization. It's really amazing. You can find more information at change-today.org. Also, I'll link it in the description. Of that organization, I've specifically been volunteering with hashtag Feed the West campaign, which provides direct food assistance to residents in the West End. And if you haven't noticed, or if you haven't caught on, I am very passionate about food justice. All right. All right, so that's it. Catwoman and a great organization. Change today, change tomorrow. Okay, so I've been your friendly neighborhood fat friend, Allie. I love you, I appreciate you, and I dunk on a cop for you any day. I'll talk to y'all next week. Bye!